Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I am talking about My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix, and this is from Quirk Books. And got a little quirky logo there. This is one of my favorite covers. It's from 2016. I think the paperback's from 2017. So I can't say one of my favorite covers of this year because it's not from this year, but I love it. I love the whole VHS aesthetic to it. This is the story of Abby and Gretchen. They've been best friends since 4th grade. And when they're in high school, there's an incident, and Gretchen starts acting bizarrely. Her behavior changes, her appearance changes, and Abby is trying to figure out what's wrong with her best friend and if she may or may not be possessed. One might think from the title that you'd know the answer to that, but you got to read to find out. So that's it in a nutshell. Man, I just love this. I could just not even look at you fine folks out there and just look at this cover the whole time that I'm sitting here, but I'm going to try not to do that. So, what did I think of My Best Friend's Exorcism? This is a tough question. I'm torn. I'm going to cut to the chase here. I did give it 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. It is very well written. I think, most, if not all, of Grady Hendrix's stuff. I think he has some very obscure things that I don't have, but I have his big novels. I have Paperbacks from Hell, but this is the first. I read Paperbacks from Hell. This is first fiction that I have read. Excuse me. And his writing is fine. It moves along at a good pace. It's fun. It's quirky. The characters are well drawn, and they're interesting. Abby's our main character. Most, if not all, of the story is from her perspective. I think all of it is. I'm almost certain. Not going to say 100%, but almost certain everything is from her point of view. And so she's an interesting character. A little bitchy on occasion, but she is a teenage girl. Don't at me. Oh, you say that on Twitter. I don't. Do you say that on YouTube? Anyway, yeah, I think people have said that. Gretchen, interesting character. I like the way they meet back in 4th grade. They're at a private school, even though Abby comes from a poor family. She's got a scholarship. Gretchen comes from a very wealthy, important family. Abby's other friends, Margaret and Glee, are their 2 closest friends at school. They're from wealthy families. Basically, just about everybody at this school, except for Abby, comes from wealthy, important families. And those characters are interesting. The side characters are I don't think there's a lot of cannon fodder characters, as I say. They're all pretty good, pretty interesting characters. It's a little. I'm not going to say nostalgia porn. Maybe nostalgia soft porn. If, say, Ready Player One, which I have not read, but I've seen bits of the movie. I've read bits of the book. If that's nostalgia porn, then this is nostalgia softcore porn. It takes place in the 80s. I forgot to mention that. But it takes place in the 80s. Tons of 80s references. Talks about, occasionally Abby goes home and turns on the TV. And so we get a list, little tiny lists of the shows that she's watching. The songs on the radio, the movies that are out. Her big obsession when we meet her as a 4th grader is E.T. Greatest movie ever made, if you ask Abby. And there is a connection to all the chapter titles, which I will not say. You have to find out for yourself. But very, very, very 80s. Medium referential compared to some other things. So this is all well and good. Here's the thing. basically, any review that I'm doing on this channel is my opinion. Now, occasionally, I can state facts, such as, well, as close to facts as possible. I can tell you when something is just horribly written, poor writing, poor characterization. I mean, that could be objective, subjective, but I think on occasion it would be clear to anybody that something is poorly written. Or, if it's just full of mistakes, that's a fact. Mistakes are mistakes. But mainly, obviously, it's all my opinion. But sometimes I think when I get into opinion, it's more personal. Does that make sense? It's kind of, people say your mileage may vary. So what I'm about to talk about, I think it's a your mileage may vary kind of thing. There's two things. On the front of the book, let's see, book page says, if The Exorcist had been authored by Tina Fey instead of William Peter Blatty, it might have borne an uncanny resemblance to what Grady Hendrix has accomplished with My Best Friend's Exorcism. So, of course, Tina Fey wrote Mean Girls, based on the book Queen Bees and Wannabes, I believe. But anyway, she wrote Mean Girls. That's what they're referring to, I believe, because there's a lot of that in here. And so one of the things that bothered me, for lack of a better term, was I felt there was a little too much teen angst. But again, this is really my personal opinion. Your mileage may vary. There is a lot of teen drama going on. So that's one thing that was a little bothersome for me. Might not bother anybody else. The other thing, there is one scene in particular that tonally I felt was really out of place. So imagine, if you've seen Mean Girls, so imagine you're watching Mean Girls, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of it, there's a scene from Dumb and Dumber, a movie I do not like. I like Mean Girls, don't like Dumb and Dumber. But that's the kind of tonal shift that I felt this one particular scene had. Again, your mileage may vary. There's another scene that's not quite it's a slighter tonal shift, but just this one in particular, for me, didn't fit the feeling of the rest of the book. If you want to get in the comments and ask me what I'm talking about, we can post spoiler warnings and get into it, but I'm not going to do it here. Try to be spoiler free here. So those are my two biggest complaints, and I say probably, I'm the one doing this. The reason it doesn't get 5 out of 5 stars, it's only getting 4. The pace is... See, I want to say it's a slow pace, but it's the pace of the story itself is pretty quick. It moves along at a good clip. It never lost my interest. The pace of what's happening with Gretchen is a little slower. Does that make sense? As I said, there's a lot of sort of teen drama and teen angst and things going on that breaks up what's going on with Gretchen. But I didn't mind that at all. It feels more like a slow, again, not a slow book, but a slow build, if that makes sense. I'm asking that a lot because I'm really not sure that I'm conveying things properly. But I liked this. I like that we're slowly seeing what's happening to Gretchen. We're getting clues, ambiguous clues that it may or may not be possession. Is she possessed by something? Is it just normal teen angst? Is it a mental issue? Is it a family issue that's leading to her acting out? There are some very creepy scenes that, again, are relatively ambiguous. You're going to have to read through to the end to find out what's going on. I like that. I like the creepy scenes. And oddly, they do not feel tonally out of place with the teen angst and the drama. Those work. It's just that one scene in particular that just felt wrong, tonally speaking. But anyway, yeah. So, was there anything else I wanted to mention about this book? I think I covered most of it that I wanted to. It's very well written, interesting characters. It moves briskly, never lost interest. It's ambiguous for a long time. I think we get a definitive answer by the end, but you're going to have to, I'm not going to tell you what that answer is. You're going to have to read it for yourself. I do recommend you read it. 4 out of 5 is a decent rating. It's on Goodreads. I really liked it. Definitely looking forward to reading the other Grady Hendrix that I have, and he's got a new one coming out soon. Looking forward to that. Although you all know I'm not going to get to it for years. Yeah, so that's my best friend's Exorcism. Beautiful, beautiful cover. Very entertaining. Not perfect in my opinion, but again, your mileage may vary. Give it a try if you haven't read it already. So, there you go. That's my review. I've really lost what I'm doing here. I'm out in the weeds, man. Anyway, if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronin5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comics, tabletop games, and fuzzy animals, is EricSmith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. That's it. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.